Hello there guys and welcome, it is Niran here, and today it is time for episode number 4 of our Project Cars career mode here. And of course, last episode we had the bumper episode of the entire European Formula Rookie Championship. Today, of course, having won that last time out in a very dramatic championship, it has to be said, especially with that sort of rain effect at Donington Park, we now move across to the World Championships, and that all starts with the Japanese round of the season at Sakitto. Now, you'll have seen a moment ago that I've moved the AI difficulty up to 100%. I did the same for Donington Park, actually, interestingly enough. I didn't actually mention it in the video, but that was on 100%. Whereas the first race, Catalonia, was at 90%. So we're on the hardest possible AI difficulty now for this World Championships. It's a 3-round season as opposed to the National and European Championships being 2. And here you can see we're at Sakitto, which is sort of a bit like Suzuka. Now, we actually went out on the wet tyres. I matched it to the air conditions that the game suggested, and it gave me wet tyres on a very, very much bone-dry track. But as you can see, by the end of our flying lap, the tyres are overheating massively due to the fact it's not actually that wet on the track, but it has now started to rain here at the end of this lap. So by the end of the next lap, the tyres should be back towards their comfortable conditions sort of for working. But now, as you can see, it stopped raining again. After that, the weather system on this game is very, very unpredictable, very, very temperamental. It just stops raining, and there's lots of different showers. It's quite nice because it's sort of it's very unpredictable, but that makes it very difficult to sort of match what you want to do. So we ended up doing our best time there on pretty much a bone-dry track with wet tyres on. Did think about coming in for a dry set, but we ran out of time in the end. But we did still manage to take pole, despite being on 100% difficulty there, from Hoffman in the Dark Nitro car, from the Orion Racing car, is that, I can't read that, Mamar I think it is, and a few others there behind. Our teammate, where is he? WestForce, he starts 10th on the grid. His name is WestForce, so yet another European-sounding teammate. But as you can see, we're starting on pole for race 1. Undetermined as to where we're going to start in race 2, because obviously that depends on your second best time, which was set on a sort of dry-ish track. As you can see, though, we are underway here for race 1 at Sakitto, which is pretty much Suzuka. I think there's a bit of Motegi thrown in there as well when you go through the tunnel, but it's basically Suzuka. And we've made a very, very good start coming through this first sort of double apex set of right-handers. And look at the lead we've got over Nathan Cullen. Is that behind us? I'll need to make the preview screen bigger in a minute because I can't read the names. In fact, I'm going to do that now. I think it's Nathan Cullen. We made a very, very good start here in our WestForce car. In fact, making the preview screen bigger has made no difference. It's just more pixelated, so you'll have to bear with me, unfortunately. I'm fairly sure that is Nathan Cullen or Nathan Colton, something like that. His name's Nathan. We'll roll with that, but what a great start it's been going through this, I suppose, traditionally tricky first sector on F1 games, because it's pretty much Suzuka, as I said earlier. Now going through those the first of these sort of 90-degree right-hand corners, now through the second, and under the bridge with the traditional, of course, figure of 8 layout on this track. And now, coming through the sweeping right-hand corner, we've been fairly untroubled on this first lap, and now, as you can see, we're going to skip on to midway through lap 3. We've actually got an almost 5-second gap over Sir Nathan behind us, and it's looking all very smooth at the moment. And despite me putting the difficulty up to 100%, we're still finding this fairly damn easy at the moment, so we've got a pretty commanding lead at the moment. Now moving on to lap 4, we are moving on to lap 4, although we were going through the same corner as we cut away, which is quite confusing. But going through the last few corners now, through this quick chicane there, we bounced onto the grass, and it's thrown us well out there onto the gravel. We've apparently cut the track despite actually losing more like 3 seconds as opposed to gaining anything. Thankfully, we had such a big gap in the end, because that massive mistake there could have cost us a victory right on the final corner. But we do come across the line despite that big scare at the end to take our maiden victory in our first race in the World Formula Rookie Championships from Nathan something or other in the Gridstorm racing car. Then the 2 Orion racing cars behind them, with Hoffman for Dark Nitro and a Jet Dog driver behind. I don't know why I can't read this today. This is probably the worst it's ever been, but for some reason I can't read these names today, so you'll just have to bear with me in terms of names, and if I can see half of the name perhaps, then we'll roll with that. But not the greatest of races for my teammate David Godor. He's of course in 8th place for WestForce, so again not getting too much help from my teammate in the first race of the season, but not too bad. A little bit better than Tony Dreyer, 14th in the first race of the season in the European Championships. That is how that affects the driver driver standings after the first race. We are, of course, top, the same order as, of course, that first race. But we do have the 2 bonus points from qualifying and setting the fastest lap in that first race. But now it is time to jump into the second race. As you can see, we're starting sort of in the pack this time for WestForce, 7th on the grid, in fact. So our second best time in qualifying, only good enough to put us 7th on the grid despite a commanding sort of fastest lap in the end by the end of the session. It's a good start, though, against the blue and white car there to our right-hand side. And now bearing down on the green and red car. It's a Hageman. I'm not entirely sure. To be fair, we got very close, though, to the back of running into the back of the car. Very close to running into the back of him. And now that's allowed the blue and white car that we passed from the start line to move past us there. A little bit of contact as an orange and white car gets a little bit out wide there on the grass, and it's sort of a domino effect ended up squeezing us. We've ended up squeezing the blue and white car. They're actually off the track into the gravel. And we've got a guy called Christian in front of us now. He's in the green and red car that we saw right at the start. We are up into 5th place, so it's a good first few corners. A very good launch, not a great first corner, but then after that, after a bit of sort of a few melees going on with people going onto the grass and stuff, we have managed to move up into 5th there by the halfway stage of this first lap. And now just going to try and stick in the wheel tracks of Christian in his red and green car in front. I might actually attempt to say the second name, but really I can't read it. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But we are just going to stick with this guy for now. And we're going to have to do a lot more work, obviously, to win this race if we do want to win it, as we did in race 1. We'll have to see what happens here. Coming through this quick chicane that caught us out at the end of the first race, we're unable to make gains on the green and red car, but it does look as if we're quicker into the corner. Just got to work on our exit out of the corner. So that's promising for the rest of the race. Of course, this race is a lap longer, with it being the second race of the weekend. We've got a 5-lap race as opposed to the 4-lap race that we had for race 1. As you can see, though, we are right on the back here of Christian Hagedorn. I'm not entirely sure. But the green and red car, they're trying to go right around the outside, but in the end there's not enough space by an absolute mile. And he shuts the door on us again in the slipstream, now bearing down towards turn 3. On the inside of the number 35 car, very, very close to contact. I think he's just going to squeeze us out. We actually end up going out onto the marbles anyway. Can't get enough traction there to continue speed around the corner. And in the end, Christian Hagedorn, I think his name is, ends up getting away from us pretty damn easy. So we're now going to skip ahead from lap 2 to, well, to the end of lap 2, in fact. Now, coming through this quick chicane, we've made a much better, well, we've done very well. We've done much better there, but Hagedorn decides to stick it around the outside. Not really advised. I'm not entirely sure why he tried to do that, but in the end we managed to hold on, and we now move up into 4th place. The corner was pretty much ours. I'm not entirely sure why he contested it. Now moving on to the next lap, same position, and we're right on the back of Raymond Harrier. I'm not entirely sure. Orange and white car right in front of us. We've got a pretty decent exit, so we're going to just stick in the slipstream here of this orange and white car, and it looks as if we're going to be able to make a move before we get to turn 1. We duck out of the slipstream, go to the inside, and that is a very good move there on Raymond Harner, I think that is. And up the inside, down into turn 1 we go, and now we're onto the podium from 7th on the grid. A pretty decent fight back after not the greatest first corner. Doing an alright job here. Now onto the penultimate lap of this race, of course. And we could even sort of fight for a win here. We've got a lap and a half to go. We've still got 2 sort of fly-throughs, or 2 runs through our favourite overtaking spot, so we might just be able to, if we can really hook it up, get past both of these guys through those corners. So we're right at the back of the second place man in his sort of white and orange car, going through the Dunlop curve, and now coming down towards these 2 90-degree right-handers. No overtaking manoeuvre to be done here, surely. We do get right up to the back of him. I think that's Nathan Calvin, or Nathan Calton from the first race, or Callan, not entirely sure. Cullen, it could even be Cullen, who the hell knows. But we look up the inside again, but the door is closed, going through that long sweeping right-hander, and we've actually lost a bit of time there to Ryman behind us in the other orange and white car. So we've just got to bide our time, be careful here. Oh, getting well out of shape though. Through the chicane, going over one of the sleeping policemen. That's really, really ruined our run on Nathan Cullen in front of us, and now Raymond Harner is right behind us in the orange and white car. He's going to get a slipstream, but we go defensive to sort of cut that slipstream, make sure he doesn't get any advantage down the home straight. And it doesn't look as if we're going to take the win here. We might still be able to sneak second if we're really good through that chicane right at the end of the lap, but we still got time to make up on the first two runners, the top 2 here, before the end of the lap. We've got a bit of a gap now that's sort of developed between myself and Nathan Cullen, so we're going to have to work hard here through these curves, through these lefts and rights, these long, sweeping, pretty fast corners, even in the Formula Rookie cars. And now coming through the Dunlop curve, it really doesn't look as if we're going to catch the two in front of us by the end of the lap. We may just have to settle for third here and just try and hold on from Raymond Hahn. We've got to be careful though coming through these next two corners. We don't want to go out wide and dip a wheel in the gravel, but we've done exactly that. We've been sucked in by the gravel. We come back onto the track there and we've been hit by a black and red car, and it's all gone wrong. We lost a position there to one of the blue and white cars, but in the end got hit. I didn't see the name, didn't see who it was. It looked like a German sounding name from the brief look that I saw, and we've been hit. And it's an absolute tragedy. We've gone from fighting for the win now down to last. We're going to finish last as well. The car is crabbing an absolute treat due to suspension damage from that hit. We're going to take a look at it. It doesn't look anything look like there's anything broken aesthetically, but you can definitely feel it from the steering, or I could certainly feel it from the steering. Absolute tragedy. We've been hit there, and this is where I complain about a game as opposed to a race, because that sums up really what's all that is wrong with Project Cars. I don't know why we dipped a wheel in the gravel, and for some reason the gravel actually sucked us in. It didn't just sort of slow us down, it physically sucked us further in. No idea why. That's for some reason some sort of glitch on this game. And then for some reason the AI hitting us, I think it was Thomas Graf, I don't know, I can't even read that. The guy who came 5th for Dark Nitro, I'm fairly sure it was him who hit us. And that is a massive shame. I think we might be having some rivalries with him later on in the season, to be fair, because that was just outrageous. He's taken us out there. We were clearly back on the racing line. All he had to do was just react, and he hasn't. He's driven straight into the back of us. We actually got a bonus point for that second race. It doesn't mean too much seeing as we came last, but that could be a worthwhile point by the end of the season, because obviously now we no longer have the lead of the championship, having come last in that race. We dropped to 4th, and we're 20 points behind Nathan. Nathan, the Gridstorm racing car. He leads it on 54 points there from Raymond and the guy who won that second race as well. We're massively adrift now in terms of the title race, but there are 2 more rounds of the season to go to make up for that, but hugely disappointing given, I know the mistake was us in the first place, but we don't expect to be sort of punished in a way that isn't realistic and then taken out, clearly when we were back on the racing line. But still, it's disappointing. It's a disappointing result, but a good win to set us up to sort of allow us some breathing space, as opposed to, the fact we only dropped to 4th despite coming last. So, hope you enjoyed that episode of Project Cars Career Mode. Feel free to drop a like if you did, subscribe if you are new around here as well, and comment about enjoying the video if you enjoyed it that much. It has been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a good day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.